Virgo, hi, it's Erin Scott here with the Alchemy of Holism. Welcome. So we're tapping into your new moon cycle, and this is your natural evolutionary growth arc for the identity of Virgo, okay? So I'm tapping into symbols and images and pictures coming through, and we're seeing what they're representing to catalyze your growth for this particular arc of time. I have my paints here. I'm using gouache. And I also have my charcoal pencils here as well. In fact, we're going to go ahead and ID you on the paper. I have also my cards, my Siri deck. So I'm going to pull a growth edge for you at the end. So let's see, Virgo. Okay. Let's see what wants to come through for you here. This is fresh, so I don't plan ahead. I literally put the camera on and we're just going to go for it. Let me take a little sip of water with my little gecko head. Okay, Virgo. Now, just to remind you, this is tapping into the natural new moon portal of time, like the natural rebooting time, which is the new moon. Yesterday was the Gemini new moon. Sun moon conjunct at 2244 Gemini, close to, within orb of Mercury in Cancer. So there's a lot of thought process happening right now, focus and issues coming up with regards to nurturance, how we are or aren't, how we communicate with support or not, a lot of that kind of thing coming up. It's interesting because I picked up the pencil. I'm going to start with the pencil for you too. There was another sign too that I did that. Typically it's starting with a wash of color. So Virgo, I'm just going to tap in here. Feel free to get a cup of tea. For some of you, you might be having a religious narrative coming up. Either you're contending with some sort of dogma, religious dogma, that you're starting to question. We'll talk about this shape in a minute, okay? But one thing that I will tell you as I'm doing this is we are all, each and every one of us, on the collective, all of humanity, and each individual is going through amazingly challenging and amazingly growth-oriented. It's both and. It's this dichotomy of experience. It's very, very rich, but it has to do, Virgo, with, well, largely, it's a combination of things, but a large component is Mars conjunct South Node in Aquarius, and it's going to be there for many months, okay, with Mars's retrograde process, which usually doesn't take 5 to 6 months. It's taking this very extended time now, and it is huge because it's bringing up old patterns of anger, rage, old narratives that doesn't work for us anymore. You know, it's old patterning that's devolved and adolescent, and not the evolved human, not the new human, not the mature self by any stretch of the imagination. So anyway, let me see what else wants to come here. Virgo, I'm going to stop there, I think, for now, but there might be something else that wants to come through. There's a couple things that I see here. It started just as a form, like this cube, almost a flying cube, a projectile cube. And this three-dimensional cube started with green on one end and this kind of brown on the other end, which has its own meaning. But the shape itself could look like a coffin, okay? Present something like a coffin. And it actually started to feel that way for me at the end of drawing it. But it's almost like a coffin being catapulted into space, you know? It's like in some space films, in some space-oriented films, and I'm forgetting the name of the one that I'm thinking about. It might be a Star Trek movie, actually. I think it's a Star Trek movie that I'm thinking about. But it is, you know, bodies who have been deceased and encapsulated in some sort of a pod have been, in these films, ejected into space. And that's almost like what this felt like when I was drawing it. Now, it is floating above the horizon line. It's floating in the middle of the page here. And in the back of this particular, let's say, coffin, which we will still talk about the colors, we have this blue cross floating in the background. This could be talking about a spiritual narrative, and it could be talking about a Christian narrative. And it's very up in the collective now. The Christian narrative, in all of its colors and all of the previous opacity, is now becoming very transparent for us all to see. Anybody with clear eyes can see what's happening here. The move very far away from, let's say, the purity of Jesus's message, okay? But this is in the background of this catapulting coffin. So perhaps a lot of you, perhaps a predominance of you, are actually putting to rest a religious dogma that doesn't serve you, that's based on a myth that's not based on truth. It's not based on pure truth of God's source, of the source field. You know, it's non-aligned. And it could be that there's a non-aligned myth that you're starting to push out of your life, push out of your psyche, put into burial, into deep space. Now, it's green and it's brown. And I'm having some trouble with my throat right now. Like, I'm actually really feeling it. There could be something here with communications. Now, blue is also communications. Hold on. I need to look at this green and brown. Hold on, Virgo. Okay. I mean, obviously, green represents healing, comfort, warmth, new growth. It's new, fresh, comforting support. It's a foundation. It's new growth. The brown kind of represents maybe a deadening. And so it could be, Virgo, that what was nourishing, green can also represent like greens, you know, like vegetables, biota. What was fresh and nurturative has become dead, okay? By the way, not that soil is dead. In living system, soil is very much alive. But in the case of this coloration interpretation, growth and end of growth, right? Nurturative and maybe not so much. This is a period of pause when there's just soil and nothing coming up through the soil. So it's more of an internalized process, in other words. But for me, symbolically, growth, no growth. And it could be that a religious narrative that once fed you no longer feeds you. And a lot of you in this mid-June to mid-July portal of time, again, lots right here. So there's lots of fifth chakra stuff, everybody. You know what this could represent? This could also represent a lot of you are communicating dissonance. Okay, you're communicating a dissonance in a religious dogma, a religious narrative, a collectively held mythology that is disaligned now from any kind of a truth of original message. It's been skewed and it's been, you know, bastardized. You know, it's not aligned with any core based truth. It could be that a lot of you are communicating this, communicating lies, communicating the dissonance and the damage and the toxicity. Could be. That could be this, but it could be also because I really feel it strongly. It could be that a lot of you are actually having trouble speaking it. You want to extricate the crap that doesn't work anymore, that doesn't serve you anymore. And it could be that you want to speak it. And it could be too that, you know, maybe that there's just some sort of, you want to communicate it, but maybe there's still some sort of a block. Maybe during this portal and this month, everybody, you're navigating that. You're navigating how you clear your communication. Could be. Now, the beautiful thing, I have to tell you, I think this is quite beautiful, is that this big, bright yellow S emerged, as did the background horizon line. This horizon line is behind the S. I painted the S, the horizon line came, this wanted to be painted over it. This is behind it. This is also behind the cross. So what I get from this is that this huge S for me reminds me of Superman. And this huge kind of, let's say, going with the flow form of the S. Naturally, it's organic, it's moving, it's malleable, it's resilient. The yellow is this kind of willpower to move forward. And it is, for me, it really felt like Superman. So this kind of Superman archetype is behind this propulsion of the coffin, perhaps of a religious narrative that needs to be communicated differently. And there's a horizon line that's also gold, which for me feels optimistic. So I feel that a lot of you, there's some sort of a reorientation with spiritual clarity, spiritual discernment, courage. To me, this is definitely talking about courage as well. Okay. So Virgo, this is, I think it's very intriguing. So this is my Siri deck, 144 cards. Let me pull up a card for you to kind of tap into what can aid you for this particular growth narrative for this month ahead. The other thing that I want to say is don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, okay? So there's a narrative that might feel dissonant for you, but the truth is there's still generative, nurturative truths at the basis of, let's say, what became bastardized and no longer fits. No longer fits or is no longer true. People are not walking their talk. It's completely skewed and it's so clearly obvious. So there could be this dissonance that you're feeling within with regards to the spiritual narrative that you're living, right? And thus, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's about discernment. So that's definitely one growth edge, and that's going to help clear this, the discernment. You really mindfully going within. This is about daily discipline. It's about really doing self-investigation with your thought processes, okay? Very important. I do want to point something else out too. Let me pull this card first. Wow, unknown. Okay, so your card, this is your guidance, Virgo. This is the guidance to help you with your growth arc this month. Cannot be known now. I have to tell you, there's something quite beautiful about this because, and you can see, I have to tell you, this image is of an entrance to a graveyard. Okay, this image, it's hard probably to see, but this is a photoshopped image that I photoshopped of an entrance to a graveyard, an old one, an old one, centuries old. Okay, cannot be known now. Okay, now what I want to say is that there's no accident that we have a graveyard here and a potential coffin here. Cannot be known now is saying that there are certain things that are not optimal for you to know now. There are things that it's optimal for your soul's growth that actually you don't know yet the whole picture, because there's growth in the navigation. So you have to trust, not knowing. When things are a mystery, it urges the catalyzation, the upwelling of faith, real faith, not fake faith. This is like, you know that life is intelligently organized, and you know that nothing in living systems is random. Nothing. So cannot be known now means you don't know the details, and you don't even maybe understand the bigger arc of the bigger narrative playing out, but trust. Be in your process, attend to your stuff, and trust. It's about calming in the unknown, being okay with not knowing. And this is interesting because we have this graveyard here. You know what this might, well, for some of you, this might be saying that it cannot be known now after you discern, after you rethink and recalibrate your worldview, your whole paradigm of reality. After you recalibrate that with regards to your spiritual identity, you better believe you're not going to know. You're not going to know what's true, what's true. Now, I have to tell you, I haven't said this in the other readings, but this definitively applies to you, I think. It's very strong. There's an astrological event that's happening this coming Sunday, okay? Like Father's Day, okay? And I think it's either Sunday or Monday, but essentially Neptune is stationing retrograde. And this is in Pisces. Neptune rules Pisces. Neptune is about the connection, the antenna to the consciousness field, to the source field. And it is our imagination that connects us there. It is our visualization that connects us there. But you better believe when Neptune stations direct and goes retrograde, it is a time when delusion will be seen. Okay, and I feel that you are really feeling it. I think, Virgo, that you are really feeling it. Now, this is opposite you. This stationing direct is happening opposite your sign in Pisces. And I feel that a lot of you are going to be taken aback. Some of you, it might feel like a punch in the stomach. Like, you know, you're going to find things out. This is what I think. I think that there's going to be things that are coming out in the month ahead. And I think it's going to shock a lot of you. And it's going to have to do maybe with your religious foundations. And it might shock some of you to your base. It might knock you to your knees. Now, is it going to knock all of us to our knees? Yeah. But Virgo likes to know. It likes things in order. It likes to know its reality. It likes the details to be handled. It likes to understand so that it can navigate. And do you see that these 3 lines that I have next to your name? I didn't put that next to any of the others. This is Virgo. Virgo likes its lists. It likes to identify. It likes everything, you know, in its place. And this could get a little messy. And I'm still getting stuff in the throat. I think something's going to be spoken. I think that there's some communication that's going to come out that might knock some of you for a loop. This could be within your own religious organization and in your community, in your neighborhood, or it could be more global. And this is about trust. Your growth edge for this time frame is trust it. Trust that it's important that whatever is coming out needs to come out. The truth must be seen, because the true spirituality, it's time for that to have a new root system. Okay? The real root system's been rotted. So this is about trust, Virgo. Trust all is well. It might feel a little chaotic. It might feel a little messy, but it's okay. There's still nurturance there. I'm getting a lot of chills right now too. There's still juice there. It's a matter of you discerning what's the dead, you know, flotsam, and what's still the juice, the real juice, the true juice. This to me is definitely a symbol of empowerment for you. I think a lot of you are going to feel it will throw you for a loop. You are going to have to develop an okayness with what is, an okayness with having delusion exposed, and an okayness with developing a new level of faith in a new belief system. But you're going to have the strength to do it. A lot of you are going to be able to access this yellow Superman, let's say, embodiment. Okay? Very juicy, I have to tell you. For those of you interested in understanding my holosynthesis work, getting people clear on their soul print and the wound sets that are keeping them bound to a certain narrative when it's time to be free, look into my work. I connect evolutionary astrology, the organizing principles of living systems, and Byron Katie's The Work. So it's a matter of freeing yourself from the suffering. It's time. It's time. 2018, 2019, 2020. These are dynamic years. It's time to get clean and clear and hyper self-honest, hyper self-clean, clear, you know, brave, courageous, to walk your path and take the reins back so that the disembodied wound narrative is not the driver anymore, that you become the driver of your own life. All right. So Virgo, I am sending you much love. I'm going to be curious to see. The summer is going to be intense, but I am curious to see how this month ahead plays out. Okay? Much love to all of you. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.